smashing the airwaves and is going and becoming a viral sensation. But before we start talking, and the people who are on our YouTube Live and also our Facebook Live can see him there. I'm not actually currently got him on mic'd on there, but just welcome this evening to Salam Radio once again and the Empower Hour with your host, Sukhi Wahiwala. I would like to just remind everybody, last week was a stunning and amazing show with Juggy D, and we are going to absolutely equal it with our guest today, which is Jassa Ahluwalia. I'm going to introduce him in a second. If you'd like to get involved, as always, you know, WhatsApp 07745 278 978. Give us a shout, give us a text straight away, and like we did last week and every week do thereafter, we'll go through all the details for you and actually ask the question if you've got something poised there. Also in the studio, you can call directly on 01733 602 133. Alternatively, get onto Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and post straight on there because we're actually streaming live right now. So, a little bit about our amazing, amazing guest this evening. Now, I know you hear me say amazing guest every single week, but sure, but we work so hard at the team here at Salam and Abstract PR and ourselves to ensure that we bring the best of empowerment to your airwaves. So, Jassa Ahluwalia, and if you're looking actually at the video tonight and you're streaming, if you can see myself, you're going to think, is this gentleman Jassa? How does Jassa work out? If you've seen some of the viral videos that we pushed out for today's event as well, it just kind of breaks the ice and explains a few things. But this gentleman here, if I could just share a little bit about him, he is an award-winning, now be very, very clear about this, and I'm not talking about any old award, you know, some guy like myself starting an award program. It's an official award-winning actor, director, writer, a writer who's got through to the BBC highest, well, what we call the long listing. Is that correct? Yeah, long listings. Yes, right. And he's a writer that's been recognised there. He's been seen in many of the actual TV programmes already. BBC Two's, Peaky Blinders, BBC One's, Ripper Street. You can see if you're watching me, I'm really quite stuttering at this one. Do you know why? Because I don't watch TV. But there we are. But it's still the same thing. You know, honestly, he'll forgive me, I'm very certain. BBC Three, Some Girls. All of these are where you have seen Jassa Ahluwalia before. He's born and bred in the East Midlands, and he wants to make it very clear that he lives and resides in London right now. But he's an East Midlander. Just thought I'd point that out. And I know he's gone a bit red now because that's life. So welcome everybody. Before I start yabbling on myself, introduction, welcome Jassa, please welcome.
hello Sasri Kal, Assalamu alaikum. Lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me on.
Now for the listeners and the viewers who've realized that actually he looks full Caucasian, even though he sat there and said in full Punjabi of his greetings. So this is what you're going to find as one of the USPs, because we haven't written it down, but he's definitely being seen as an emerging comedian who stands for, you know, what we classify as both and not just one in connection with that. So if you want to hashtag find him, he'll be basically under white Punjabi and also hashtag both, not half. We'll be touching on both of these conversations just in a bit. But once again, welcome to the station once again with the Empower Hour with myself, your host, Sukhi Wahiwala. So, Jassa, I'm going to start with something really simple.
Okay.
You're born and bred British. You're in West Midlands. Tell me a bit about yourself. You know, for example, there is no denying that you seriously look as though you would be born and bred in Britain, but you also don't look at all Punjabi.
Yeah.
So give me some feedback. Let's play.
So I guess I think the thing is, like, when I was born, nobody knew what I was going to come out looking like.
Oh, no.
My mum was like, "Oh right," and my mum and dad were like, "Okay, well, this is what he looks like. Cool."
Yes.
So it basically, I look the way I do. But when I grew up, I was born in Coventry. I grew up in Leicester. When I was very young, my parents were struggling financially with work. There was lots of stuff going on, and in good, Indian tradition, I was sent to go and live with my grandparents, my Dadaji and Dadiji in Leicester. So my paternal grandparents, and I, so I was speaking Punjabi at home with them, and I was speaking English at school, and I was just immersed in both cultures. And I'd spend some summer holidays. I would go to the Punjab. One of the first trips I went on, it was just me and my granddad. And when I was in India, I was just speaking Punjabi the whole time, and I forgot English.
I can truly remember that when we were interviewing, when I caught you at Turbans and Tales as well.
Yes, that's where we met. Yeah,
that's right. And one of the first things you said, that actually the very first time you went abroad, in specific to India, you forgot English. You started speaking Punjabi full time.
Yeah, because I wasn't using it, so my granddad didn't even notice that that I'd forgotten it. It was only when we were on the plane on the way home. I think the British Airways air hostess came over and asked me. It was like, "Hello, young man, would you like a colouring book?" And I was like, oh, no. I was like, what is she saying? I was like, I don't know. Or I just looked sort of blank. And my granddad was like, oh, okay. Needs to figure out how do I explain this to the parents when I get home.
Something's changed.
Yeah. And then when I started speaking, I mean, very, very malleable at that age.
What sort of age was that then?
So that was in 94, so I was 3.
3 years old.
Yeah,
okay, I can fully expect that. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So,
did you find, just so that you're in the conversation, we're touching a little bit about that. Did you find it natural or quite easy? Not that you could remember at 3, but did the language come back very quickly?
Yeah. Well, from what my parents tell me, it did. But also because the way it came back is quite funny. Because I came back, but I had a really strong Indian accent.
So you were speaking what we classify as Indo-Punjabi.
Yeah.
Indo-English.
So my mum had to be really careful about where she took me, if it was just her and me, because it was really incongruous. This my really white mum and this really white-looking child. And she tells me the story about they were going around the supermarket, and my dad had just wandered off, and then suddenly I pipe up from the the little seat in the trolley.
Yeah.
And I go, I was like, "Mummy, I think we need some bananas." And she's like, "Just be quiet, please, darling. Please be quiet." Everyone's like, heads turning, being like, "Hey, what's going on over there? This little sort of racist baby."
It would probably come across as
I mean, it could come across as quite offensive. Yeah,
that's right. You can get away with it because you're a child, though.
Yeah, sure. But for my mum, mortifying.
Oh, goodness me. But now I'm blessed with a very similar scenario. I've actually called them my daughters. They're my brother's daughters and my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my brother's daughters as well.
Yeah.
And they are bilingual, fully bilingual
Amazing.
as well. And for me, basically, what really touches me is your hashtag both not half.
Oh, thank you very much.
It's a very sincere reality. I have 4 of my own blood children, but I have 3 daughters from my brother as well.
Yes, yeah.
So I've never seen them as one or the other. So the whole hashtag both not half is so supreme. So a question to yourself, I mean, where did that come from, and what was the feeling behind that, if you don't mind?
Yeah, so for me, both not half is the distillation of a lot of sort of self-examination and self-discovery. It's like I guess it's become my sort of guiding philosophy, if you want to give it a big title. But that it's come from. I was in exactly the same position as the family situation that you just described. Is that within my family never occurred to me. But it was only when I started interacting with the world as an adult, when I was suddenly kind of aware of myself and the fact that I have an identity. That was when I suddenly realized that in certain situations I was seen a certain way, in other situations I was seen a slightly different way. And a key moment for me was I went to a family wedding, a Punjabi Sikh family wedding. And at that wedding, there was a young. So we were, enjoying the whole evening. And on the dance floor, I suddenly realised that there was this young girl who was watching me from across the hall.
Yeah.
And she was looking at me.
So just to pause, I think we've got a caller coming in, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah?
It's nice just to play that. I know I didn't want to interrupt the story, but Qasim, you said there was the caller on. Would you like to?
Do I need headphones? Or?
I think you will this time around. Yeah, so we'll just adapt. So my apologies, cool. But it's really, really amazing that we've got
proper live radio. This.
So let's put it up. Welcome to the caller. I'm afraid I don't know the name. Who is on the line there?
The name is Atik from Children of Adam.
Oh, Atiq, how are you?
How are you? You alright?
Not too bad. From Children of Adam, from our homegrown Peterborough.
Yeah, I don't normally ring in, but I was just listening to the conversation that you both are talking about and stuff, and I just want to say well done. And this kind of stuff that you're talking about needs to be spoken about a lot more.
Well, God bless you.
Thank you very much.
So well done to both of you. God be with you both.
Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
It's refreshing to hear what you lot are talking about from different communities and from different faiths, and we need more of this. So I just wanted to say, well done, Sukhi. You're a legend anyway.
Oh, thank you, Atiq.
You're like a brother, man,
much.
And you've always been somebody to look up to anyway.
God bless you, Atiq.
So
thank you so very much. And
keep up the great work.
Inshallah, we will.
And we will catch up with you lot soon.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. So it's a nice little pump there. So
wow,
you see the effect that we're having. Thank you, Atiq. Right? You see the effect that we're having. Talking about stuff that we, in essence, is a reality of life. And actually, I'm just looking, if I may. This is actually my brother, and he's on our Facebook as well, on the Empower Hour, and he's sending 2 hearts and a pin as well. So,
cool.
And Rai, which is actually my grandchild, in essence, is also my eldest daughter, Sunita's son, and my brother and my sister-in-law's grandson, sorry.
Yeah.
He's saying hi. So he's like 2 years old, by the way.
Hi to you guys as well.
God bless you. So thank you very much, and thank you, Atiq, for Children of Adam, actually sharing the information, which is an amazing charity here in Peterborough, which is assisting all faiths in children specifically. So back to yourself there, just so if I can. Talking about this scenario, you've gone to a wedding.
Yeah, so
you've turned up and you've walked across, and you, as unassuming, because there's nothing in your brain, nothing thinking about this, you're sitting there just being normal and dancing.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the time. I've just had my roti naan, peshwari naan, like peshwari naan. I love my peshwari naan, the stuffed naan with the coconut and all that. It's like you only get that when you're out, That's you don't make that at home, and then like the doll kicks up, and honestly, like the doll is where my heart is at. Like that's
the doll, just for everybody else who's listening who may not understand what we're talking about, because this goes across to America, US, all over the place, all over the world. The doll is a Punjabi drum in specific, and it's got a very specific beat, and it really vibrates and gets us in that space. Yes,
Bhangra, that's that vibe, and that kicked off, and that's how I discovered performance. Really, it was at a wedding in India when I was very, very small. When I was on that first or second trip, I think, to India, and I was dancing, and an audience formed around me, and I've got VHS footage of it, which
VHS
is amazing. But so Bhangra dancing, all that has always been in my heart, and so
so keep an eye on his YouTube channel. It's called what's called the official Jassa.
Official Jassa across social media, and then just Jassa Ahluwalia on
YouTube. On YouTube. If you want to get in touch and engage with Jassa at all, and this obviously, remember, don't forget he's an actor and he's a budding comedian without doubt. And now I've just heard that we're going to frame him and make him into a dancer now as well. Right? So we've got all these things to think about.
I trained in dance. I did train as a ballet dancer for 12 years.
So we're not going to do that. He's done it himself. So there's me trying to claim something here. It's not working, is it? Well done to you.
So I was on the dance floor, and I was Purida Nachadasi. I was like really dancing, and then I saw this young girl looking at me, and there was this look in her eyes and her face, and it just like really cut to the core of me, because what I realized, I sort of forgotten that I was white. Because I was around family, relatives speaking Punjabi, though it was a family that I've known since I was, since I can remember. And she was looking at me, and I realized that, I don't make sense to you. And that really struck me as a moment where I was like, right, just the fact that I'm here doing all of this, feeling so at home, but looking the way I do.
On the outside. Like,
I don't make sense to you. And because she was young, she was 4, so or something like that. She was very young, so she couldn't. It wasn't like she was thinking it. What she was thinking was on her face. I could just read her face.
But you could just basically, there wasn't any verbalization.
No, it was just a look. It was just a look.
A child, and as innocent as she was, didn't really get it. Yeah,
and I know, so it's not like I had anything against her. It's just like the world has formed the worldview for her, which is that I don't make sense in that world.
And so quickly as a diaspora, in the sense of so quickly as an influence, Chomsky talks about this. Noam Chomsky talks about the influence of consented influence. Such a quick time, such an early age of 4, that sort of thing. So please continue.
So and I went away from that experience, and I was like, and I really, I can still really remember her face, and I was thinking like, oh wow, I need to start thinking about this more because, and I couldn't really articulate how I felt about it or what I was doing, and I wrote. I'd been reading a lot of like 1950s short sci-fi novellas at the time. A kind of writer, mentor, friend of mine, Anthony Horowitz, who I'd read his Alex Rider novels as a child. I'd written to him when I was very young, and he'd very kindly written back to me, and he sort of became a mentor. But he'd put me onto these novels as a way to sort of examine social issues.
Oh wow!
And yeah, these were fascinating. So I thought, all right, maybe I'll try this. So I tried writing a short sci-fi short story called Alienation, and it was about two like an alien race and like an Earthling race, and Naj was this character who was the product of both.
So in essence, the child of
the child of both worlds. It's like really broad strokes.
Yeah.
And he and they're like traveling on holiday to go and visit this place, and I sort of used the term sentience as like a way to sort of cover everything. So I just explored it through that, and I was starting to think, and I was starting to feel like, I kind of feel like I'm really caught between these two worlds, and
also sorry to cut you there in the conversation, but what really understands that is that you're obviously, it's not really, this is the element of what you're talking about with when I'm both. There isn't a segregation. Is that right?
Yeah, and I hadn't realized that, because what the world was telling me, what I was feeling from the world, is that, well, you're half this and you're half that. And I'd had instances where people had said to me, oh, well, you're not Punjabi or Indian enough to do that.
Yeah.
And
it's obviously a very narrow mind of thought as well. Just for the listeners, just in case you're thinking, how is this relevant to Jassa? His dad is a Sikh, and his mum is a Caucasian British woman.
Yeah,
is that right? Yes. And so what we're talking about is this is a norm these days, and it's absolutely fine because of the reality of humanity being one. So really, what we're saying is that we're just having a loose discussion, just so that everybody can understand, around the possibilities of how people misinterpret other people's journey and version of the world. Because the reality is, inside there is only one. Outside, it may not fit the norm as the 4-year-old child will coming through. So my apologies for that. Go back to yourself just to help.
Understand. So through writing that story, thinking about it more, I realised that I couldn't quite place my finger on how I was going to figure this out and how I was feeling about it. All I felt was that I was sort of hanging between two worlds that I didn't feel entirely within either. And so I started looking at things what did resonate with me. So for something that resonated with me was British Indian history, the time of colonialism, Raj, East India Company, all of that. And I was, but I think important to make the distinction of Raj being the very end of that period as well. And so I thought, well, hang on, I feel really connected to that, but I also feel conflicted by it because I'm aware that colonial history, imperialism,
what effect it had on what effect it had on the greater India as a whole. So I was like, well, but at the same time, I felt a great affinity to it. I feel like, wow, if I have a home, maybe that would have been my home, because that's where I felt. And so and my mum was great. She sort of picked up on this, and my mum was quite troubled by the short story when she read it, because she felt she'd wanted to give us the best of both cultures growing up, but hadn't really anticipated this kind of society, I guess. This outcome.
The world. And so she got me a book called White Moguls by William Dalrymple, and that unlocked a lot for me, because I was like, oh right, there is a long history here of people living within both cultures.
So just to clarify for everybody else, White Moguls, written by
William Dalrymple.
So that basically enhances the colonialism and the Anglo-British environment.
Yeah, it looks at the pre-Raj period when there was actually a lot of cultural exchange. It looks at a particular marriage between a high-profile Brit and somebody of the Mughal aristocracy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that. And I was like, oh, right, that started unlocking.
Starting to resonate with this.
Yeah, I was starting to resonate. And so I went deeper into the history and just started expanding my knowledge, and bit by bit. And then, so that alongside that, I was like, wow. I just need to learn loads. So let's just learn history holistically, because that's what I was learning from looking at British Indian history was that actually often we're taught so much in isolation. It's like, well, this is, you know, English history, and this is French history, and this is, you know, we're looking at Indian history, and it's all either within a specific time period or a specific geographic location, whereas actually it's all interconnected.
It's world history.
Yeah, it's all, and it needs to be looked at it as such. And one big thing that jumped out at me when I was doing some of that reading was like, oh right, the cotton trade in India really boomed because of the American Civil War, because it cut off the cotton trade from America. I was like, oh wow, so Bombay became Bombay because of the American Civil War. It's like,
because they came over here.
Yes, and I'd never seen, or nobody had ever presented that in that way. Yeah. So the more I started looking at history and kind of philosophy more generally, I then came. Through that, I came to ideas of nationality and nationalism and national identity. And this was like another thing that really got me thinking about, like, who am I, what am I, how does the world see me? Because as an actor, I have to give, I mean, even you guys, you asked for my biography.
Yes.
And often the first line of any biography is so-and-so is a insert nationality actor. Right. And I was like, well, how do I describe myself? Am I British? I feel like I'm not really showing my full self. I don't feel I can really use British Asian because I feel that's got a strong association, which isn't what I look like. Is it Anglo-Indian? I'm like, well, I feel like Anglo-Indian's got a long history of people that
yes, absolutely,
born in India.
Specific.
Yeah, it's very specific to a period as well. I was like, I don't know what it is. How do I articulate that? And I think it was because I thought national identity was like a natural law, that it was just a part of the world and always has been, and it was something that
you have to subscribe to, as opposed to not necessarily it's a choice.
Yeah, and through doing this reading, looking at history, discovering that national identity was like quite a conscious creation when basically around the time of the emergence of cities. And
categorization.
So local communities, villages sort of started deteriorating. People went to the cities. They're like, oh, how do we identify? And then institutions were like, well, let's have a national theatre, and then we can create national plays, and then we can create a national spirit. And I was like, oh, absolutely. Right, this is all. And then suddenly all those troubles that I had suddenly went away. And I realised I can embrace my ambiguity. And actually what I think the world needs is ambiguity, because...
That's so beautifully said. It's so beautiful. Now, that basically means that you don't need to be so defined in life. You know, you don't have to be fitting in one corner or another. You know, the reality, I think, just to touch as quickly, because this is about the empowerment hour. We've only got about a minute to 2 minutes left before we actually cut for that first.
You're right, time does go quick.
Remember I said to you, Jassa, this is just going to go so quickly. So please do get engaged. There's a few more coming through on Empower Hour on the Salam Radio Facebook Live questions, but I'll come back to them in the afternoon. In the second half. The first half is just, we're gonna touch a little bit more on this a little bit as well. So, having to be categorized, the reality is that internally you don't have to be so fragmented. You know, you don't have to have two. And it doesn't. This is a very simple. It's a natural norm. Does that make sense? We're all everybody is one. When we all bleed, we bleed the same color. So the question I'm just going to bring to yourself is that how did you actually overcome this duality that you were feeling within yourself?
I think it was almost as simple as that, as realizing that ambiguity was empowering, and then it was almost instantaneous. I was like, all of that fell away, and I was like, right, I can be both, and it was that linguistic thing, and I think that was something, you know, as a writer, actor, director, I'm looking at words a lot, and like, how do I interpret those? Like, why am I using that word and not that other word? And I think that's, you know, the association of words is also a really important part of Sikh philosophy as well.
Absolutely.
And I was thinking about that, and I was like, oh, hang on, when I introduce myself, I'm saying, oh yeah, I'm half this, I'm half that. Like,
correct.
And now I make a real point of when people say, oh, so are you half this and that? I'm saying, no, I'm not half anything, I'm both.
And both, by the way, do follow the hashtag both, not half. It's really, really powerful. And also the hashtag white Punjabi. This is so, so powerful. And I'm apologizing for having to cut in a little bit. We've got about a minute and a half, and I want to make sure I've got as much as I bring it to a
just say very quickly is that I think, you know, the idea of half caste and all that has gone very much out of fashion, but the psychology behind half still persists. And I think that's worth noting, is that, you know, I think so by taking both, and, you know, for me, both not half encompasses a lot of things, because maybe people have got lots of different elements to their identity or heritage, you know, it doesn't have to just be two, but for me, it's
so powerful. But it also gives you an added depth to your thinking process. As you said, the words themselves, they adjusted. So you would think of different words to explain the same thing, or maybe in a different depth as well. And I'm sure this adds an amazing colour to your writing and ability as an actor as well. So just because we're actually down to 24 seconds. Could you believe that? So
the countdown, yeah,
it's literally a countdown. So this is the Empower Hour with your host Sukhi Wahiwala and our guest today, which is Jassa Ahluwalia, an actor, an award-winning actor, writer, screenplay, and budding comedian. And mustn't forget, so please do tune back in 4 minutes. We're going to be back in a mo.
Stay tuned to Salam Radio after this short ad break.
It does not take much to bring some difference. You give some change, which makes a change, because nothing gets mileage like a charity. Just a little change turns into a chain, and before we know it, the results are massive. So give a little to make a big difference. To give donations, call UKIM on 0207 387 2157.
दोस्ता की परेशान है
जरा कर है ना सारा सौदा मुक्या वा मुल्का विच पैसे भेजने
हूं नहीं मार फूड वाले की फोन खड़का ते फ्री लोकल डिलीवरी कार मंगवा
अलाता उथे कै स्पेशल आ
उना की लबाई हाइजीनिक ग्रेड 5 चीजें चंगियां मियारी ते सस्तियां ते नाले ऑफर ही ऑफर
और क्या
ताजा गोश्त ताजी सब्जियां ते फ्रूट आटा चावल दालां मसाले ते जूस सारे बिल जमा करने गैस ते इलेक्ट्रिक ने टॉप अप भी करने पाकिस्तान पैसे बिल्कुल फ्री भेजने मतलब के एक चिड़ी ने दूध छड़ी ते हर शय लबनी
जने ने आप उतरा
Amar Food Store and Halal Meat 613B Lincoln Road Peterborough telephone 01733 687374.
Imagine if you had access to NHS GP services outside of your surgery's normal hours. With the Peterborough GP Hub, you can. Based at the Boroughbury Medical Centre on Craig Street, PE1 2EJ, the GP Hub is run by local surgeries and offers weekend and evening appointments for patients registered with a GP in the Greater Peterborough area. Booking an appointment is really easy. Simply call your surgery as normal and ask for an appointment at the GP Hub. Visit greaterpeterborough.gps.nhs.uk for more information.
Do you own a restaurant or takeaway? Cater Fair is an expert supplier of new and used commercial catering equipment. Visit caterfair.co.uk for quality equipment on sale at the lowest prices, or call us on 01733 310 115 or visit us at 11 Royce Road, Fengate, Peterborough.
My name is Khalid Siddiq.
I'm Saif Adam.
Assalamu alaikum, this is Baraka Blue.
Yo, this is your boy Harris J, and make sure you guys stay tuned to Salam Radio 106.2 FM.
Gems and jewels. Wise sayings, interesting events, and moral lessons from Islamic history. The story of a woman and her children.
Aisha radiyallahu anha said, "A woman came to me with her 2 children asking for help. All that I could find with me was a single date. I gave it to her and she divided it into 2, giving half of the date to each of her 2 daughters, herself abstaining from eating anything from it. I left her, and when Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to me, I informed him of what happened. He said, whoever is put to trial with daughters in any way, but then does good by them, they will be a barrier between him and the hellfire." Collected by Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, and At-Tirmidhi. This hadith and others like it give cause for joy to every mother and father who have been blessed with a daughter, for through that daughter they are shown a way that leads to paradise.
Broadcasting 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. This is Salam Radio.
Welcome back, everybody, to Salam Radio with your host, Sukhi Ahluwalia, and the amazing, and I must say this in a biased way, amazing Empower Hour show every Tuesday evening at 7 o'clock sharp to 8 o'clock. So today, if you've been listening to the first half, then I'm just going to repeat to yourself again. Please do get involved. We've had a lot of interaction on Facebook Live, and YouTube Live is available as well. If you'd like to WhatsApp us by any means, you can do. It's 07745 278 978. Today's guest is Jassa Ahluwalia, who is an award-winning actor, screenwriter, and I'm going to put in the word again, we're, highlighting the fact that he's a new comedian coming up as well, but actually he's not really, but he's just becoming really, really funny with the sketches and the short movies that he's been writing and recently. Now, I'm just going to talk about this. It's quite funny because this is an English-based show, as in language, but now I'm going to point out something very clear. We've had some beautiful journey up until now, and all the kind of challenges you've had in your life as well, but also the identifications and realizations you've had. But a little Dickybird tells me that you are actually somebody who not only can speak Punjabi, which is a northwest India language, and also Pakistan language as well, because Pakistan in 47 was cut into two countries. My apologies.
I'll just say that my grandmother was actually born on Pakistan side.
On Pakistan side, and in specific where?
So around I always mispronounce it, Faisalabad.
Faisalabad, perfectly pronounced, actually.
Yeah. I always go Faisalabad, but it's Faisalabad.
You said it perfectly. So it's Faisalabad, so Pakistan in specific, and then I assume then your granddad was born from India side. Now.
In India side, yeah. My grandmother actually, dad opted to stay in Pakistan, but their house got burnt down. So
oh bless. So
they left.
Even there, then they left obviously to India. But even there, we've got the same duality issues coming across. I stand with one leg in India and one leg in Pakistan. So how does that work? So I think these sort of shows and these sort of discussions are just so necessary for us to just air for the next generation, so we can talk openly. So going back to the conversation, you also read and write Punjabi as well. And above all, Gurmukhi in specific, which is where the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, which is the holy book of Sikhs, is actually written. But you can read it as well.
Very slowly. Like, I'm getting better.
I think the answer is there, yes or no.
Yes. Well, yes. So how
did that happen, is what I'm trying to say. How did that happen? How did you manage that?
So I had quite a formative experience in 2014 when I went to India. It was my first time going back to India as an adult, and it was quite an overwhelming experience going back as an adult, because things felt different, and also becoming aware that my grandparents' generation are in their twilight years. My grandfather died last year.
I'm very sorry to hear that, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
And just for your reference, I truly subscribe to what you've just said, as my own mum just passed away on the 1st of December last year, and most of the people in Peterborough do know that anyway. But it really is the case. Our generations are disappearing. Even to now, it's still raw. But the game is with respect. Your granddad has a legacy within you, because obviously that's something to just really hold on to as well. Something for myself as well.
And when I was there, I started to really start thinking about this stuff, and I had a moment. I was gone back to the village, the Pind, and I was sat chatting, and I realised that I was finding it very difficult to express myself, kind of lyrically or metaphysically. I couldn't express ideas, really, emotions, concepts, more nuanced. I didn't have that vocabulary or the ability, because as I've grown.
Get it. So it's a slight limitation to having your phonetics right, and your base vowels and stuff of that sort of nature right, but not managing to describe the depth. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah. I mean, I can talk very easily about, what I want to eat, what I'm going to do, where I'm going to go, all of that stuff, the vocabulary that I've grown up using. But at a certain point, I didn't have those conversations where I'm discussing, my existential crises, my crises with with people in Punjabi. So I never developed that language.
And to be honest, sorry to cut you there, I do apologise. I try not to speak into the conversation, but it's actually not just the fact that you have what we call both race incorporation. It's actually, to me, it's actually the next generation, full stop. You know, whether you're talking about the generation of Asians, the brown-faced individuals, you know, dark-skinned, whatever you call it, it's the generation that's actually well, I am not of that generation, even though I am aged-wise in that generation, but our children are facing the same challenges where it's not specific to just mixed race. I'm talking about it's open to everybody who's having the same directorial problem, where they can have basic conversation with I want to have a cup of tea, roti lani, have a cup of, there's a roti, but it's the expressive, the metaphysical expressions that we're going through. So this is really valid for the whole of listening.
Yes, I've come to talk about mixed experience as opposed to being mixed heritage.
My apologies.
No, that's fine. I'm just saying that it does encompass a lot more than it's not just having one parent from one place, one parent from another. It's
beautifully said. Thank you.
And it was in that time when I was there, I kind of left the village that day, and I just broke down in tears in the back of the car, because I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. How do I? India and my Punjabi heritage is a huge part of my past. It's a part of my past that I love, and I want it to be a part of my future. How do I, these roots and these connections will be lost inevitably, because that is the nature of life and death. And how do I retain that? And I realized, well, I need to, I need to put the work in. I need to, there's a great Philip Pullman's his Dark Materials, the book's Northern Light, Subtle Knife, and the Amber Spyglass. He really explores this beautifully, the idea of you're born naive, and there is a beauty in naivety, and then you have to then you lose that through your teen years, through puberty, and then you have to seek wisdom. That is how you can attain that same state of mind, but it's more progressed. But you have to work all the way through your life to get back to that point. And I was like, right, I need to go and I need to really seek out that wisdom. And I realized that if I wanted to expand my language, if I wanted to be able to have those conversations and remain as connected as I wanted to be with my culture,
that you had to take that responsibility.
Yeah, I had to take that responsibility, and it had to be, and I knew that I needed to be able to read and I needed to be able to write, because then I could access materials in a way that I couldn't at that moment in time. And so I just went on YouTube. I found an amazing series of 5 fast track learn Gurmukhi on YouTube, which
you're going to have to find them. We're going to have to share them.
I think it's Sangat TV, their YouTube channel, but amazing, really designed. Unfortunately, they're designed for people who fortunately or unfortunately, it depends on your level of Punjabi, but if you can sort of speak and understand Punjabi, it's really great. It gets you very quickly from not being able to write to being able to write and read, because he sort of totally subverts regular teaching practices. It's not all of that. He goes straight in. He takes one letter, say like the H, like ha, and then he'll be like ha, he put the kanna, the vowel sound, then it's ha, and then he'll go through all the different vowel sounds and show you how all the vowel sounds modify the letter.
That's really quite interesting. So it's basically taken into consideration of the Roman English structure that we've got in our brain.
Yeah.
So in fact, he's kind of added or amended it. That's really beautiful to hear.
And it just locks in really quickly. Yeah. And I just found I did one video per day over the course of a week, and by the end of it, I was then able to. So I had a real incentive to do it, is because I could see that my grandfather was deteriorating, and I wanted to be able to engage him intellectually, because I'd realised that he'd sort of checked out. He'd achieved everything he really wanted to in his life, which was wonderful. But at the same time, he had checked out, and I wanted to, at least for the time that he had, to keep him sort of stimulated mentally. And so I thought, well, if I can read, I can go and sit with him and I can read in Punjabi and he can correct me and we can have a bit of a discussion.
So actually you would have a really deep emotional connection with him again, and actually ignite his thought again.
So
the empowerment of empowering him to engage again. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Is that kind of right?
Yeah. That was exactly what I wanted, and it was
stimulation for him.
Yeah. Thoroughly. And
first of all, I've got to say that's just absolutely tremendous and beautiful, coming from a person who's of a younger age, and the bond that you had with your grandfather is just I think it's a very beautiful
thank you,
conversation that we're having here. Thank you for on behalf of all of our audience as well, and I'm sure all the Empower Hour team, the listeners, are actually enjoying it as much as I am personally talking to yourself.
I hope so. So that was how I learned to sort of read and write, and now I try
and just so to move on a little bit on that conversation. So how have you found after, because obviously that's an inspiration to myself personally, how have you found that learning the phonetics of Gurmukhi or Punjabi in specific, which is Lippi is what we call the actual written language, and then the reading element, because that's what you've done. And if you talk about Gurumukhi, which is the Sri Guru Granth Sahib, which is the holy scriptures of our 11th living Guru as a Sikh, but how have you actually felt the interest of even trying to read some of that? Because this is a religious channel. So have you felt that presence of something, a higher order of some kind?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I've been examining with myself for a while. I came to it through, well, a lot of it was to do with my love of the outdoors and being outdoors and walking. I do a lot of like wild walking, solo wild walking and wild camping, just off out and about by myself. And that sort of, it kind of came from a sort of romantic, kind of capital R, romantic sort of place. And then I was thinking about it more. And then I got into meditation when I was struggling with sleeping, when I came back from a particularly special trip to New Zealand. And I was really struggling to get my sleeping rhythm back. And so I tried meditation.
The 20 odd hours, 23 hours difference, yes.
And on meditation, I sort of became really aware of I think we've come to, or I felt I was confusing I was confusing reality with what I could touch and feel and all of that. And there is a more exciting reality. Well, I'm also really interested in physics, and the more I learn about contemporary, modern, cutting-edge physics, the more I'm like, this is just so weird.
Absolutely,
it is so bizarre,
and it connects just what you've just said there very, very beautifully with a gentleman called Alfred Korzybski, who wrote a book in circa around 1933 to 38, depending on whichever volume you buy. But he writes, and the book is called Science and Sanity, and he was what I would classify as a kind of a pre-godfather of most neuroscience as we understand it in this current day. And he says that, as you said yourself, the reality element, of what is real. He's basically, the principal understanding is, he said, the map is not the territory. Now, this is used quite evidently within lots of modern education, such as neurolinguistics, which is NLP, and deep psychology, which I train and educate in as well. And the map is not the territory is a very simple understanding of saying that the map itself, the map of a drawing of a city, let's say the city of Peterborough, isn't necessarily Peterborough. It's a representation of Peterborough.
Sure.
So I can't live on this piece of paper as a map, if you can see on the video. If this is a video of myself looking at it, I couldn't live on here. So I'm aware of our time schedule as well. But this actually is my version of the world. It's my representation.
Sure, yeah.
Locks beautifully with what you've just said.
Yes, yeah. So I read a book by Carlo Rovelli. It was called Reality Is Not What It Seems, which I think it's just such a brilliant title. It totally captured me from the title and reading that. And he's looking at a way to sort of, relativity and quantum physics to come together. That's sort of the great challenge that physics faces at the moment. And towards the end of the book, I totally lost. I was like, I don't know what's going on now, but all the stuff leading up to there was really interesting. So to come back to your original question,
bring it
was that so recently I wanted to look at the text of Guru Granth Sahib, and it was particularly the Mool Mantar, because I thought there's just so much in there. And it was through Satpal Singh and Nanak Nam and his discussions in English, which, I found, I go to the Gurdwara quite a bit when I'm back in Leicester with my grandmother. And I sort of really lament that I can't fully engage because the vocabulary that's being used is just really quite beyond me. I can't keep up.
Was that at the time or now as well?
Oh, now as well, yeah. Just because it's just so fast, the language is very complex. By the time I've just processed one bit of the idea, they've moved on.
Well, to keep you empowered yourself as well, by the way, here, I must say, just I think 99.99% of the people sitting in the divan, the audience, are in the same situation. So I don't believe it's unique to your journey in my opinion, because I don't think I think it's a generational change as opposed to anything else. So just to give you something,
it's encouraging to know.
Yeah, meaning some and also Satpal will also be on this program very soon.
Oh, really?
We're in discussions at the moment of a date. Yes.
Oh, wow. Well, yeah.
Very good friend of mine, and very close with Nanak Nam, which is one of his processes. If you ever Google his looking into YouTube, it's a very soft understanding, but very deep, very soft understanding. Utilizing, I think, our current framework of Britishness in there as well, which is really wonderful.
Yeah, and he makes a great point as well in a lot of his lectures. That the point that you touched on as well is that, you know, maybe the Guru Granth Sahib is written in Gurmukhi, but it's not all in Punjabi, and so he's like, there's no reason to not discuss this stuff in English. It's, you know,
it's another one.
It's just another language.
Right, it's another language. That's all it is. So just to keep it focused on where we're going, because I'm
rambling.
I'm so excited about this. You know, so what is excuse me. So what is Jassa up to now? You know, besides your comedic journey that you've just had, the video you did a little sketch with yourself and your hypothetical Dayaji. Meaning uncle or dad's older brother, which I'm going to tell you, it had me in stitches. And we used the same. Yeah, it's an amazing sketch, and these are the short stories that you're coming up with, etc. Occasionally, that was more of a jokey thing. But what was the inspiration for doing such a thing? Because it was directly after we met at Amit and Naroop's launch of the book.
Turbans and Tales. So I'd done one a week about a week before that, which was just me and my Dayaji making my hypothetical Dayaji. I was making dal and I was throwing in these corn pieces into it, and he was chastising me, and then I was chatting back to him. And that sort of really took off, and I'd been sort of wanting to test the waters, because what I'm doing now is, so both not half is my thought process is distilled into a hashtag. White Punjabi is how I describe it myself, because I think it's a really quick, easy way to explain who and what I am. Makes a lot of sense. But this form is part of a larger project to really explore mixed experience. And that's taking the form of a TV series, which I wrote a pilot script for, which was longlisted by the BBC Writers' Room, which I'm now looking to get into production.
That's right, and you were longlisted, as you said. You know, which actually means, basically, just for the audience listening. By the way, I'm not sounding as though I'm really clever myself, because I didn't know this myself. I had to ask him before we went live on air. Basically, this means longlisted means that it's actually going to be read by I think it's down to the top 2, if not even 3% of all the scripts and the rights they've had in short stories and scripts. So that's quite an achievement within itself.
Yeah, so there are like thousands of submissions, and I got into the top few percent. So I know it's sort of good.
Absolutely.
So I'm developing that. That's a part of it. Then there's also, it's very early days on another part of the project, and I don't really want to. Maybe next time when I'm back.
No, I think so. Was that a part 2? Was that a part 2 invitation?
Maybe part 2.
What we'll do is if we get enough call back, of course we will have you back in if you would willing to come back again as well. So I'm just going to pause a second, because I've got quite a number of. It's gone a bit ballistic on Empower Hour on the actual Facebook site. So could I just read a few of these out for you?
Go for it. Yeah.
I think it'd be really nice to sort of touch base with some of our live listeners as well. Okay, so my brother. Bob Wahiwala, known as Bob Wahiwala, very well known here in Peterborough area. He said that actually, just to enhance, and I'm going to paraphrase the conversation a little bit, one of my cousins, whose name is Himmat Singh, who is actually a singer, and I'll bring him on board soon as well. Excuse me. And he said that his daughter would engage with my sister-in-law, which is my brother's wife, Sheila, just as normal. You know, she'd just pick it up, and she had never even contemplated that she was from a Caucasian white heritage in England. So that was really beautiful to understand that. He was just saying that she never saw it. She was just blessed for being able to not see that difference. So that's just another side of the same story we were talking about earlier on, where possibly the young baby or the girl that was kind of seeing you in that scenario at the wedding may have not had so much integration. So that could have been a nice answer there as well. And may I continue to say, a gentleman called Manjinder Singh, he's saying, I think this is a really good one, because obviously you are a profound actor and a very healed one as well. Manjinder Singh saying very clearly, he says, if you have a chance to work in Punjabi cinema industry, then the actor who would you choose to work with? That's the question he's asking.
Diljit Dosanjh, like straight up.
Dosanjh. No, you see, his hands go straight up, and he's doing a bit of a Bhangra. He's straight into his Bhangra move as well, so you can. So Diljit Dosanjh there has an answer to him.
That was a great thing about being able to write Gurmukhi was that I was able to write a couple of tweets to Diljit Dosanjh on Twitter in Punjabi, and he replied a couple of times. Yeah, we had like a little bit of a chat because he put out like this wonderful music video that was very Peaky Blinders inspired. That I called it Puggery Blinders.
I love these little adjustments you make, and may I just wish that you continue in that same vein of obviously seeing all your brands, you know, the Peaky Blinders, and turning it to Puggery Blinders. That's kind of good. It is. I think with Goodness Gracious Me and modern, should say, Indian humour or Asian humour within the British environment, is really, really enhanced and opened the gates for everybody to be quite. I think the question would be quite.
I think
creative.
Goodness Gracious Me was quite a while ago, and I think this is something it's worth noting, that there has been a lull in how I think we've gone a little bit backwards in how we see ourselves. You know, you look at. We talk a lot about Bend It Like Beckham, Gurinder Chadda, Sanjeev Bhaskar, and those guys, but they were at a time, and then it's been very quiet.
Period.
Yeah.
So it's time for Jassa.
I'm very fortunate to have met and worked with Sanjeev, and he's working on a script. That's probably about as much as I'm allowed to say.
Stop! No more. Kulvinder's a very good friend of mine as well. So yes, Kulvinder, the other gentleman.
Oh yes, yeah.
Awesomely funny person. So I'm gonna tactfully take you back on because of the fact that we don't want to go into any scripts here, right?
Oh yeah. But I just mean, I think there does need to be. We need to get back to that.
A new engagement.
Yeah, a new engagement. I think that part of that does have to come from the new generation as well. You know?
I think I'm very much for that, and I think a lot of the people who are writing in are saying very similar things as well. So if I can just add a little bit more, there's a gentleman called Arjun Singh Bullar. Love the show. Thank you very much, Arjun, and thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate that for your touch base. Finding a discussion really interesting on the way home from work. Obviously, Jassa, your work is truly inspiring. Just want you to let that saying there. Keep it up, guys. You would love to hear more about both you and the radio. So more about yourself and in this context, and the guys and having a great time. So thank you very much, Arjun, and
thank you very much
for making the mask. And you've got appreciation quite lively. I think it's really, really kind of nice. It's interesting. So bringing it, would you believe? We're on our last 4 minutes.
Really?
It's not fair, is it?
No, it's just totally flame by.
Can we just turn time back?
We got all these notes that we made, and we touched like 2 of them.
Yeah, we're getting somewhere, aren't we? But how are we having fun?
We're having a lot of fun.
That's the key.
Yeah.
And the reality is, you've seen, the audience has been listening. They've been listening to the fact that you've had dualities, you've had understandings, but overall, today you're standing together. You're actually one, and the beautiful understanding of.
I'd just like to say thank you to everybody who's been watching and sharing those videos and spreading the word, and it's they've gone around.
They've gone viral. It's millions, by the way, just so I'd let you know.
It's sort of gone around the world and come back through family members who didn't even know that it had been sent out or hadn't come across it, and they're getting sent from people, they don't even know the connection or any of that. So it's been wild. But what's so wonderful about it, and why I want to say a heartfelt thanks, is because I feel really seen, and I feel really I suddenly feel that feeling that I had when I was around my close family in India or in the UK, where I've always felt both, not half. I now feel both, not half, walking in the street, truly, and that's come from people, connecting with our audience, and it's so special. I can't really put into words how special that feels.
I can truly understand that, because as a public conversation, host and trainer as well, an educator, and also from background in entrepreneuring. It is very rewarding to be able to walk down the street and people recognise you as somebody specific. And in specific, both not half is a really, really valid and needed concept. I was talking to you about it when I picked you up from the train station earlier. So all I'd say is God bless, and may you hit higher, soar amongst the eagles as well, and beyond. So. It's been a really tremendous conversation so far, and I think the people have been really engaging. We've got more people already touching base as well. I'm going to say something very, very humble in this context here, because it truly is interesting, and I will say this, and I'll say this live on air with everybody else listening as well, that I think we're in the presence of greatness, and I think it's something will change. I think the whole principle of both not half is so needed, because even if I can talk about myself coming from two cultures as well, because I am British, English, but I'm also heritage from India. This is relevant to me. This is relevant to every listener, anybody who's got any duality in their mind. It is one. And we need to understand that the oneness of life. And if you go back to Guru Mukhi, and Guru is we start with ik or Ankar. Ik is the part of the conversation, and there's a bit of Satpal coming through, because he's one of the only people in the international market who actually separates ik or Ankar to just ik. Let's just start with ik.
Let's just start with ik.
I mean, the whole...
There's enough to unpack there. It's like a 1 hour lecture on it, isn't it?
It is, so, coming back to yourself, I mean, what are you up to? So where do we see you next? I mean, if we'd like to engage with your videos and your sketches and your writing, we're down to 1 minute. So where can we find you, please?
Well, please, if you could be following me, tweeting me, I really need to build my audience so that I can keep making these videos. It's official Jassa, Jassa, across all social media. And then Jassa Ahluwalia on YouTube. If you could subscribe to the channel, that would be great. If I can build that, thank you very much. I need to build that audience, then I can push more stuff out.
And then would people be able to engage with you and probably give you their ideas as well?
Yeah. Please do. I really want to hear, what do people want to see? What are the ideas? I've already had people sending me messages on Instagram from people, mixed families, who have got maybe issues that they've come up against that they want to know.
Well, this is just
lots out there.
Tremendous. And I may applaud and please engage everybody to touch base with Jassa. It's been an absolute lightning. It's been amazing. My own wife has rang up Pavinder Kaur. She's saying, great interview, guys. It's such a great and relevant topic about life, race, ethnicity. This has been the Empower Hour with Sukhi Wahiwala and Jassa Ahluwalia.
Thank you very much.
Your number one for local, national and international news.